Hello viewers, this is Mitul here. In this module 6 data query language commands, so far we have seen this 6.1 which is select statement related commands. So let us just go on to the next one, which is 6.2 types of operators. So in this type of operators, we will be covering about the different operator types like the arithmetic, comparison, compound, string, set, logical and the relational one. Okay, so let's get started with this arithmetic operators, okay, which is like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and the modulus. So here we are declaring the two variables first of all to do any of these operations, right? So we are just doing the addition here with variable 1 and variable 2. Then we are applying the subtraction between these two variables. Then we are applying multiplication, then division and then the modulus, right? So all of this is what we are just applying with an operator, and then let us just see to the results for that. So yeah, so here we see like 105 plus 2 will be 107, right? Likewise the other operators, the subtraction will make it 103, then multiplication, right, it will make it 210, and then division will make it 52, and then modulus will make it 1, right? Modulus will be basically returning the integer remainder of the division. Okay, so yeah, that is the arithmetic operator. Then we go with the comparison operators. Like all of these comparison operators are like the equal to, then greater than sign, less than sign, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to, which is as per the ISO standard. And without any ISO standard, if you want to do it, you do it with not equal to, like this. Okay, so these two are the variables. Again, we are here declaring for the comparison purpose, integer type. Now we'll set any random values, right? Like we are setting up two variables with different values. Say one will be set as 103, 107 and then 105. Now we will do first operation will be not equal to, we will check here. Okay, now if you want to check whether two variables are equal or not, so in that case you will put it like this: if, then variable name, and then sign of not equal to, and then put it like the variable 2, and then print that whatever is the result that will be listed. So yeah, so both these numbers are not equal. You can see, right, 107 and 105 are not equal. Now suppose if you have the numbers equal to, right, meaning like both of these numbers, say like the left side number, let's say we just use the same number instead of that. Okay, so if we just use the same numbers and then we try doing the comparison of greater than value. Okay, if it is greater than the variable 1, if it is greater than the variable 2, then it will show the greater than value, or else it will show the less than value if it is less than the first value, right? And if it is not matching to any of these, meaning it is equal to, right, if it is equal to any of these two variables or both the variables are equal, in that case it will fall into the else condition. So when it is in the else condition, meaning all three of these conditions are rightly compared, meaning like if you, instead of that, if you had the condition written like this, then also it will return the same result. And if you had the condition like greater than or equal to, then also it would be the same result, or if it is less than or equal to, then also it will return you the same result. Okay, so all three of them will return the same result here in this else condition, which is equal to. Now here we have kept like 107 and 105, so here it will fall into the first condition, which is the greater than equal to, right? So let's just run this. Okay, so here we see like this is greater than, the first number is greater than the number 2. Now if you want to check the reverse way, meaning like this number is less than the variable 2, then how it will display? Let us go into the else condition, else if condition. The second condition will be evaluated. So here it will be evaluated as less than condition, right, which is the second case. So here if the first condition is not satisfied, the system will automatically move on to the pointer will automatically move on to the second else if condition, which will check like whether it is matching this condition, and if this condition also is not matching, then by default it will jump onto the else condition, which is the last case here in this case. Okay, so here the 103 is less than 105, then it will fall into the second condition. So let's just see the result. Okay, so this is less than, and then in the when the numbers are same, or both the numbers like the first number and the second number both are same, it will fall into the else condition. Okay, which is equal to, correct? So this is how the comparison operator works. Now let us move on to the compound operators. Now compound operators are what? Compound operators are like if you have declared one variable and the first variable and the second variable. Now whatever you do, the result of the second variable will be added or modified and stored into the first variable basically. Okay, just for an example, let us just understand from this. So we are declaring two variables, one variable of integer type, the second variable is also of integer type. We are assigning the value as 105, and then the second variable is assigned a value of 2. Now the first operation we are trying to achieve here is plus equal to, means what? It does both the operation together, meaning like the first value will be added into the second variable and then assigned to the variable 1 itself. That is the implicit meaning of this operator basically. How it works is, it is as if like you understand it like this. Maybe if you have it written like this, okay, so now you understand, right? This is the short form, you can say, in that case. This is, we are just omitting this condition, or say like a presentation, but then we just move this plus sign here so that it will be treated as a plus or equal to. Okay, so it is like a compound operator. So it does both the operation together, addition and then assignment. Okay, so this is for the addition, and then the assignment, which is like the equal to, is for the assignment. So assigning the result of first variable and the second variable after applying the addition to the variable 1. That is the purpose of this compound operator. The same way subtraction will apply, same way multiplication will work, division, and then the modulus will work, right? So we can see all of this together running. Then yeah, let's just see. So see, like the first variable here we are displaying, everywhere you see like I'm just displaying the variable first only. I'm not displaying any resulting variable, or I'm not applying the like the arithmetic operators like we did, right? In the earlier case we were applying manually because we were writing these conditions specifically this way. But here there is no case of like that. We already applied the operation and then we assigned the value to the variable itself, right? So that is the third type, which was the compound operator. So you understand, right? Now the fourth type is string operators. Now what is string operators? How does it work? Then string operators are like we are declaring the string operator. For that we are declaring the first variable as varchar 20. Now in this case what we will do, we will apply this, we will set some value for that variable, and then use the assignment operator, or say like a string comparison or assignment. So we assigned a value to first name to this variable, and now we are just displaying it, right? That is the first operator here in the string, which is equivalent to the equal to operator, or maybe like an assignment operator. Okay, no difference to that. The second operator is used for the concatenation, or say like an combining two string. Okay, and then the assignment plus concatenating plus assignment, both of them together, which is plus and equal to. Okay, and now then there will be modulus kind of result, right? Or this is like a not modulus here, but this is like used for with the like operator. Okay, we will be using this with a like operator, and then in the parenthesis also we can have a specific characters to be compared with a like operator, and then again that will be for not matching parameter. All three of these will be used for the like operator only. Okay, so we'll see to them here in this examples. So first of all, we will see the assignment. We just saw that the assignment, how it happens, right? So the variable is assigned a value and we are displaying that. Then we will do the string concatenation. Say like if we have assigned a first name as a keyword to this variable. Now what I want to do is I want to do some say like I had a middle name and then I have a last name as well. Likewise, there are three variables, right? We have these separate three variables and we want to apply something like we want to apply a value using the string concatenation, right? So how will you achieve that? Meaning, so in that case, you can achieve using this this way. Basically, you will write the function called replace. Replace will just replace the empty string with a this double empty string with a single empty string. That is the replace function's work. But other than that, this is the internal logic. The main logic is to concatenate these three field values. Say like this is a table, okay? Now this is a table called person.person under the Adventure Works 2019. Now there are three fields in this table. We have got first name as the first column, then the middle name as the second column, and then last name as the third column. Now we want to combine all three together and want to make it as a full name, right? So how will you display it, or how can you do it? Then you need to concatenate all these three values with a plus sign or plus operator. Okay, then apply with a space in a single quote, and then plus again, then is null, and then apply the same function. Is null function is basically used in the case when say like this field or say like this column is not representing any value or it's not holding any value, then it will have a null value within it, right? So if it is having null value, then it will be replaced with an empty string. So that is why this is null function is used. So wherever there is no middle name applied or inserted in this table, we will be replacing it with the empty string so that it can be concatenated appropriately with the first name and last name, right? So and then the last name also is there. So let us just see how it works. Okay, see, so here if you see like the first name is this, middle name is this, and then the last name. So now all three of this is combined in a single column using full name, right? So this is how you can combine all three fields into a single column and then use it as per your need. Let's say this example. Now here in this case the first name is there, but you don't see like the middle name. Now if it was the case, then if I did not use this is null function, what it would do or how it will return you the result, just see. Okay, we just concatenated, assuming that like we are concatenating three values, but supposingly if there is a middle name, the middle name column is having some null value, how will it react? Okay, so let's just see. Here the middle name is null, and because of that, even after first name and last name had some value, but when it got concatenated with a null value, it made it null completely. Okay, so that's the important thing to remember. As and when you compare the strings, you need to make sure like if the string is there having some value for that, and if it doesn't have any value, then you need to put a check appropriately while doing some like concatenation operation so that it can be evaluated properly, right? Otherwise you may miss the values. So now it will show up the correct concatenated values. So supposingly if we don't have the middle name, no need to display that, right? So in case of null, what we represented, in case of null, we replace it with the empty string. Now empty string is there, meaning it will consider only the first name and the last name, means it doesn't have any, doesn't have any middle name, right? So in that case it will be empty, so it will just exclude that, and there won't be any extra space within, because if you see here after first name we are putting one space and after middle name also we are putting one space. So this two space we need to replace it with a single space. Why? Because if there is no middle name, we need to replace one space at least, right? Out of the two space we need to make it one. For that reason the replace function is being used. Okay, so for that it will make it as if like a single space between the first name and the last name. Otherwise it would appear as if like a two space between the first name and the last name, right? So that's how the thing. So now let us understand the string concatenation and assignment. How can we do that? Is first of all we need to declare the variable full name varchar length of 30, and then we assign a equal to we are assigning an empty string to that. There is a reason I am assigning this empty string to this, and which I will tell you in just now in a time. So supposingly if we want to concatenate plus assign these two values using the string concatenation assignment, then first of all we will write the string as if like this. We will concatenate the Catherine, the first name, then the space, then concatenate with checking the is null, because there is no need, but still I have it kept as if like this. So middle name is the R, and then the last name is the Abel. Now all these three values will be concatenated, and then it will check like if there is any two space character, then it will replace it to one, right? Because there is a middle name, so there won't be a case we need to replace this, right? So we can certainly we can remove this, no need of this. Okay, and then we can do one more thing. We can just skip this as well, because since we have the middle name, there is no need of the is null function together, right? And in fact we can just combine it like this. Okay, and then yeah, so and then we don't need this replace function even, because there is nothing to be replaced, right? So we will just combine the string and have it assigned, right? We just put it like this. So all this we did here is like this. Okay, so we just gave it like a space after that, and then we combine all these three. Now all that we did here is like the first name, middle name, and the last name we are combined in a single string. Now that we are assigning it to this variable directly after concatenation. Okay, so that is what we are doing here. Now here if you see, the result is displayed as first name, middle name, and the last name, and assigned directly to this full name variable, right? Now suppose if you want to check it, if we did not assign it an empty string to this, how will it react, right? So you need to check. This is how it will react. See, now you will ask why and how. Because this variable had no value within that, as we saw earlier here as well, right? If this variable doesn't, or this column doesn't have any value, meaning it is a null. So anytime the concatenation with a null value will replace it as if like a null value only. It will not be treated as if like a string. Okay, so whatever value that you may be concatenating with a null value, it will all become null. And for that reason, whenever we are concatenating with a full name variable, this with the string, then it is making it as if like a null, and for that reason you see the result as null. So for that reason you need to make sure you always assign a value to a variable, kind of a string mainly. In that case, when you do a concatenation of string, you assign an empty string to the variable, and then you do the concatenation and assignment. So it will show you the right result like this. Okay, so this is the string concatenation assignment. Then the third one is the wildcard character. In the last module also we explained that like operator, but let us just repeat for a case of string operation that we wanted to explain. So let us just elaborate it a little bit more here. Let's say just take an example of this AdventureWorks table called the person, and under the person schema, where the first name we want to check it like if there is a first name like R, means first name starts with R, then any of the characters after first character. Okay, so all of that can be all of that will be written in the result set. This is called a wildcard character. Okay, this is a wildcard character called percentage. Then it will be like the parenthesis. Within that you can specify any number of character. Then you can mention like the symbol, the caret symbol. When you mention, it will be treated as if like you do not want to match that character particularly mentioned within this brackets. Okay, so those that you want to match. And then if you have any single character that you want to skip, or say you do not know like what that particular character may be in a particular column, or say like a field, right? So in that case we will put it like this, single underscore. Okay, so the first three character we know all for sure, like the ALE, the first three letters we know, but the fourth letter we do not know. But still we want to check like the initial four characters are there, and after that any characters may be there in a string. Okay, for the first name, then list me all of those. So in that case we will list them down with the help of this expression. Sorry. Yeah, so this is how you can see the initial three letter, and then the fourth letter is J here in this case, and then maybe some other letters might be coming right after this. X might be coming, right? Like then likewise there may be some other characters maybe it will be having, right? So all of this is what an example here we can say. So this is how the one character, when we want to match only one character, then we need to use underscore, okay, with this like operator. Okay, then if there is something which we do not want, in that case we will write this the caret and the specific character we will put in that bracket. Okay, so like suppose say the first three letters we know that I, S and A is there in the first name, but then we do not want the fourth character to be B, right? In the first name we do not want the fourth character to be a letter B, right? So in that case we will write it like this, and then say any letter after that. Okay, so we'll order them by first name and then return the result to see that. So this is here, like the first three letters are like I, S, A, and then there is no letter called B. All the other names I, S, A, and then I will come, but B will not come, right? And suppose if we did not write it like this, then you see you may see to the result with a B as well. See, after Isaac, right, there will be some name, yeah, Isabel, right? So this is what having fourth letter as B, but we do not want the fourth letter to be B. In that case we will write it as if like caret and then B, right? And then close this bracket and then write like a percentage. Okay, so that is like the character, that the character whichever you do not want to match, that is the second pattern. The third pattern is like the character to match as many characters you would like to be matched, right, in a particular expression. So how can you do it? The first letter will you want, you know that like the first name of a person is like starting with A letter A. Okay, now the second letter to the fourth letter you have a specific names, or a list of names maybe you want to list in the result. So how can you list them? Suppose there are maybe thousands of records, so out of them you just want to limit the result, right, with a particular name, and you know the characters of the person's first name, that up to this characters, or like the characters you want to list those people only in the result. Okay, so in that case you will write this like starting with B. I mean any letter could be B, or it could be C, or it could be D. Any of these three letters could be there as a second character, and then any character after that. Understood? So let's say like this. I mean, so here you see like the second character. So here the important thing is like if you had it mentioned like A, supposingly starting with A and then B, so there will be no name possibly, because the first two letters of a first name very rarely be double A, right? So in that case, if it is double A, then only will be listed, otherwise it won't return, right? Yeah, here it is Aaron, right? Suppose in this case it is Aaron. So it will start with the first character as A, and then the second character as A, and then B, and then C, and then D, any characters, right, as a second character. So here we are seeing the Aaron, then after that like Abby, and then there is after Abby, yeah, Adam is also there, right? So there is nothing with the C, but directly D character comes, right? So the later comes. So that is how you will mention the characters if you want to match a particular characters from a string using the like operator. Okay, so this is the third pattern. Now the fourth pattern we already saw, right? The initial character, if you know, or maybe the last character, or maybe you know the middle, I mean, you know that like the last name may be something, or maybe you know the first name with a particular the first name, the initials, or maybe the last name initials, if you know, right? So those kind of thing you can mention, and then use it with the like operator here in this pattern. Okay, so all four of these are covered, and basically the string operators now you know, right? Like, so all four of the last things you will always use with the like operator. Okay, that we covered in the previous module. In case you did not see the previous video, please do watch module 6.1. Okay, yeah. So let's just move on to the fifth type of the operator, which is the set operators. Now fifth type of operator, set operator, is except, intersect, and then the union. Now what are these three? You must be familiar with the set theory, right? You may have studied in the mathematics earlier, or maybe statistics and all. So in that case, we studied that like except here in the SQL, how they treat it as if like the except meaning it returns the distinct rows from the left query which is missing in the right query. Okay, I'll explain you. Just understand, like for the theory, just understand how it works and how what is the meaning, right? So it returns the distinct row from the left query which is missing in the right query. Okay, so this is the except, and then you want to see like all the matching rows as if like a inner join. You earlier studied, right, like how the inner join works. So likewise here this is also working like the intersect. Intersect is kind of a inner join, you can say, which basically checks all the distinct records and matches with each and every column, and then return you the matching records in the result set. That is the intersect. So basically except is the opposite to that. Whatever you match in the intersect, the one which is not matching to any one of this table, mainly on the left side table, then it will be returned in the result, which is the except. Okay, now there is a condition, or say like a rules. There are two rules basically. Same number of columns you need to have whenever you apply this set operators. There is a rule that whether it is except or intersect, you need to use the same number of columns in both the tables, or any number of tables that you may be using in this operators, right, with the operators. So same number of columns need to be there, the same order of the columns need to be there. Okay, so particular same type, and then the same order of the column needs to be there. And then the second type is like the data types must be compatible. Need not to be the same, but still it should be the compatible data type, which can be implicitly convertible or can be compared basically, right, for the one-to-one column wise map. So let's just see to the example now for both of these. I'm just creating a temporary table, say like I'm dropping, in case if there is anything existing with a name called a TBL department, and then the TBL employee, right? So I'm dropping table if it exists, right? So this is like the common syntax we have seen earlier, and we know that now. So we just drop that table, and then we create the table. The temporary table, and then create two columns within it. One is with department ID integer type, department name varchar type 10. Now there is another table we need to use, that is the table employee, and which will have the three columns, employee ID integer, employee name varchar, and then the department ID with integer value. Now we need some records to be there as well, right? So far we did not cover up the DML operation, but still for this table to have some values, I need to place some dummy values. For that reason, I'm just creating this value. So like how do you insert a value to the table, right? So it's like the syntax, how you can insert, like the insert TBL department values, then in the bracket you will put in the first column value, which is the department ID, and then the department name in the single quote. Then you apply the comma, so that this will become my second record, this will become my third record, and this will become my fourth record. That is how it will be. Okay, so then insert table employee, then the values, again the employee ID, then employee name, and then department ID, right? Likewise the second record, and likewise the fifth record. So we will just insert all these records into the both of this table, and then we will first of all apply the intersect. Now while applying the intersect, how this example we are like using, right? How this intersect would work is department, we want to list the department that has an employee only. Okay, we do not want to see any of the department which doesn't have an employee. Maybe say like there are 5 departments in my table department, but out of those 5 department, I have only 4 departments which has an employee assigned to them. Okay, now only the department which has an employee, only those department employees we want to list in the result set, or say like only those department we want to return in the result. So in that case we will use the intersect. Okay, so let's just see how it works. So just understand like this, select department ID from a department table, and then intersect, and then select department ID from the table employee. Both the tables department ID is what we are matching up here. What it will do, it will just compare 1 to 1 that department IDs. It will fetch only the number of records which are matching. Say like in this example, understand it from here. Let's say we have 4 department, 1, 2, 3 and 4 department, right? And there are 5 records here for the employee. Each one of this employee belong to first department, then the second department, and then the third department. But this fourth department is not being assigned to, and I mean there is no employee belonging to marketing department, right? So in that case only these records will be listed. So 1, 2 and 3. So meaning like the first, second and third needs to be the result of, meaning like the department ID and then the name. These 3 are the result out of the intersect operator. Okay, so let us just run to see, right? So we got only the 3 department which are there, and for all these 3 department only we have an employees. We don't have the employee for the marketing department yet because we just opened that department now. Okay, so that is the case in the intersect we do. Now the opposite to that. Now supposedly we want to check only the department which has no employee. We want to fill that employee. We want to hire those employees. We want to get the list of departments which do not have an employee. Okay, so how can you get the list of that? Using this except operator. So write the same query, just change the keyword here, instead of intersect replace it with the except, and then it will check only the distinct or unique records out of the first table which doesn't match with the employee table. Only the records which are coming from the department table and it doesn't have any match to the departments in the employee table. Okay, so only those tables, only those records will be listed, which is the 4th department, which is marketing, right? That is what we are expecting in the result here. So let's just run to see. Yeah. So see, department ID marketing, that is the result from except. Now say like your manager says like, no, sorry, we want like both these results anyway, like irrespective of whether it has an employee to that department or it doesn't have any employee to that department. I want the list of all the department. You could directly do that as well, but say like you have say like a complex query, maybe I'm just giving it like a very like temporary query just to explain the union operator here. So I'm just minimizing that effort to writing a separate example. So how I am just working here is like say like you want to combine both this result. Here we took the matching records which has like the department which has an employee assigned to them, and here there is a department which doesn't have an employee to that. So basically we want both the result, right? And for that reason the union operator can be used. The purpose of union operator is to list all the departments whether they hold the employees or not, meaning all the employees. It does combines the set. The first set is combined with the second set with a distinct values. It cannot have any duplicate values within, as we saw already earlier in the previous module. If you did not see, please go and watch the previous video, module 6.1, where you can see and understand what is the difference between the union and then union all. Okay, so union all may result you the duplicate values as well, whereas union will only give you the distinct values from both the sets or maybe number of sets. Okay, so let's just run to see. Now you understood, right? Like the first, what I'm trying to achieve here is I'm trying to achieve the first one, which is like the matching record. I'm combining the first set with the second set where the non-matching or say like no employees were there for the department. So both the sets I'm just combining here, and then I'm creating like a subquery or say like a like a subquery is what we are just creating, or say like a nested query or like that kind of query I'm creating. What it will do basically, here I'm giving an alias to this. So it will just fetch the department ID out of this intersection and return you that, and then it will apply the union operator onto the second set, which is this. Second set is of department which is like not having any employee within that for that, right? So we will combine both this with the union keyword operator and then return you the result, which will give you all the 4 departments in the results, right? So that is how you can return the result from that. In case you want to list the whole table, that also you could do, but I'm just listing only the required ones for now. Like you displayed here, right? In this case, likewise you could just mention the department and then apply the thing and then put it like a where clause over here to get the list. Okay, so that way the thing can be done. Now let us move on to the 6th type of the logical operators. What is that? All, some, exist, in, and, between, like, not, and or. All of this is what we have already seen in the previous example or previous module. So go watch it, or in case you did not, then let us just repeat it here, the same case or the same example. Say like we already have the 2 temporary tables created, table employee and then the table department. Both of them are created and values are like greater than or equal to all here. So it will return you the all the values matching from this department in the result set basically. Okay, so that will return you the only matching records for that. Departments, here the condition is like it has to match each and every value. If the employee department is given here, then all the values belonging to this department needs to be matched. Only in that case it will return you any result. Here say like there is one record in this table which is there is a department marketing, right? That is not written, is not having any employee assigned to it. For that reason it is not returning you any result over here. Let us just see the second case, the sum, right? Here it has written you the result. 3rd, 4th and 5th employee ID, it has written you the department ID, the 2nd and the 3rd. It is just checking like the greater than, this department is greater than some of the departments then. So say like the first department has a second department which is greater than that, So starting with the second department, it has listed down all the employees, right? Then it checks for the exist, which is like similar to like if there is a match to the employee in the department table, only those records will be listed. So see, 5 records, all of the 5 records which has the department assigned to it is listed. Likewise, the in also will work. In will also return you the same number of records. Then we are checking that particularly greater than or equal to condition here, and mainly we are checking the AND operator over here. Okay, so we want to check, like say yearly income is greater than or equal to 10,000 and the yearly income less than or equal to 40,000. If you want to check like that kind of condition, instead of writing the between operator, then you could write it like this as well. Okay, in the where clause mainly. So we can just run these two are the different kind of pattern you can using which you can just write it here in the yearly income, right? Starting with 10,000 or between 10 to 40,000. The same way between operator, the range is same here, like 10,000 to 40,000. It will also have the 10, 30, 10, 20, 30, 40, right? Then here again, like the like operator, as we just saw, the same way here, but we are just checking the particular character starting with 1 and then the dash, then any character after that in the commute distance. So we will list all those commute distance records. So let us just see, it has 1-2, right? Only 1 to 2 miles commute distance, whichever customer has for the particular, right, from the store, then only those customers are listed over here. Okay, likewise, if you do want to check like the not operator, how can you check the not operator? You can just add the keyword called not before this like keyword, then it will become the negation kind of response. It will not return you only the customers, it will just exclude the customers basically, which has like this pattern, which is like 1- any characters in the miles, right? So that those kind of customers will be excluded from the result. So here you see 0-1 is there because after 1 hyphen, right, 1 hyphen will not be returned any case, right? All the other miles related customers listings are there, but not the one which we have given that. Then the last condition is to check the or. Supposingly you want to check like either it could be yearly income could be 10,000 or the yearly income of 40,000. Only those two income, only the customers having this much income, the 10,000 or 40,000. Any of these two you want to check, whichever customer has. So only in that case you may run this condition, and then you may see the yearly income 40,000 or 10,000 only. You may not see any other income people or customer in the result, right? So that is how the OR operator could be used. So this was kind of a logical operators listing. Then we will move on to the last kind of operators, which are relational operators. Very important and extensively used while working with the DML or DQL operations, mainly when we work with the remote or say like a distant remote ad hoc queries might be required, right, to be executed, or when you want to use the link servers and like the different or say like a remote host that is just providing with the data, maybe other systems than the Oracle, maybe or other system than the SQL Server, you might be remotely accessing to the different server. So those kind of servers can be the data can be accessed using this various pattern, and then depending on the kind of format, maybe say like XML or maybe kind of JSON, right? All these are a different kind of pattern based data sources that you can refer using this built-in operators given for the retrieving the data. Okay, so let us just start one by one. First of all, we'll try to understand generate series. Now this is the purpose of this mainly is like generate series generates a series of numbers within a given interval. Okay, now let's say you want to generate a series like an identity seed. Okay, like when you create a table, you may have a single column, right? That column you want to say like auto incrementing kind of thing, right? So that kind of column you want to create, or that kind of value that you want to create from a query. So how can you do that? This is the built-in function. uh, okay, so that you can use, and it is introduced after SQL 2020. Okay, prior versions may not be there. So in case you have it, then you need to apply using this generate series. The syntax will be the start of the series, meaning from which point you want to start, meaning say like starting with the first character, maybe one, starting with one, and where do you want the series to be ended. That is the second parameter. Then the third parameter could be, which is an optional, not necessary. Okay, so we could put it like this. The steps are not necessary, is an optional. So if you want to say like increment the numbers, right, like how you want to generate that series in the difference of 1 or maybe 2 or maybe 10 or maybe 50, what kind of difference is in the series that you would like to see, right? So here we can generate it with the mentioning the steps. Like steps could be in the positive side, meaning like the integer positive side, or it could be negative side, meaning like say you want to go to the reverse side. I mean like you want to go to the left side of the numbers, which is like less than 0 possibly. In that case, that kind of series if you would like to create, then here the number will be 1 and then the stop will be 10, and then the steps will be -1 possibly. Okay, likewise if you want to make it positive, then make it 1. The step will be 1. By default it will take 1 only. So here supposingly if we did not mention anything like a step, then how it would generate the numbers like 1 to 10, starting from 1 till 10 will be the last number. Here I may not be able to give you the result. Why? Because I am using the SQL 2019 as if as uh, as the version that I hold in my system installed one. But still, if you have the systems or maybe you have the SSMS installed for that, you may be able to see to that, right? So here this SSMS is 20. So you may need to get this SQL Server 2022. Okay, so in that case you can use this tabular function, that kind of a tabular function you can say to it, because it is returning you a table. This function is like a tabular function. Okay, so basically it returns you the value in the form like the select, then the column, the keyword is fixed. Here you cannot change this column name. Okay, by default this column name will be value, and then from clause, and then generate series will be the function, and then the start of the point the series, and then the end of the series, or say like a stop of the series. That is how it will generate the numbers. Now supposingly you did not have, or say you do not have the series this version of the SQL Server installed at your end, and still you would like to achieve the same kind of feature or say functionality. How can you do that? I have already explained this kind of similar examples in the previous when I explained the CTEs, right, in the previous module 6.1. You could go and check it there. But still, for an example, I am just explaining again over here for an example, just to have the similar kind of result instead of using the generate series. If you would like to create, how can you generate the numbers, right? So this is how you can generate using the recursive pattern, and it may not take too much of your time, and then still you can achieve the similar result, which is like this, right? So 1 to 10, this is how you can return. Now let me explain you. So first of all, what will be my generate series starting point? Starting point will be 1, so that is what I will put it in my first select. Okay, select 1 as an n. I'm just giving an alias, simply just n as a character for that, so as an alias. Then you need to use, compulsorily you need to use union all. You may not be able to use union only, otherwise it would start to showcase an error. It may not consider as a valid union, or it may not consider as a valid value. Okay, so this is mandate, like a union all you need to use. Then in the second select, what will you do? Since this first value will be added, say like this is a table, okay, now this table has value only 1. Within that table you have got one value, and that value 1 has a column name called n. Now what you want to do, you want to use the same column in the subsequent query and want to add a +1 to that, which is like a step here. Whatever you are doing, right? Let's say you want to increment it by 1, or say like you want to go by -1, whichever. If you want to go negative, then add n -1, or you want to add +1, right? Whichever you want to add. Then you use the from clause as the same CTE name, common table expression, okay? So I'm just mentioning the same common table expression so that recursively the very first time it will execute, it will insert a value in this CTE for a single value it will have, and that will have a column called n. It will have only one value. Now the second time it will come, it will do what? 1 + 1, it will become 2. Next time it will come, it will become 2 + 1, which will be 3. Likewise, it will go up to which point it will go? It will go up to n less than 10. Now you will ask why n less than 10? Because we want the 10 only, but still, because we already mentioned 1 here at the starting point, so that the increment we would like to go with is less than 1. I mean less than that number only, because we are already starting the series with a 1, right? And we are adding with a 1. So supposingly if there is a 9 value here, if a 9 value will be there, so 9 + 1 will become 10. Already we got that 9, so now 9 will be less than 10 only, right? But here we cannot put it like this. 10 less than 10 will not be possible. 11 is also not possible. So whichever value is possible is 9. And in the case when you have the 9, it will reach up to 9. It will have the numbers in the result as n + 9, n + 1, meaning 9 + 1, which is 10. And for that reason you have got the correct numbers, which is 10. Okay, so one and same, we got the got it clear, right? Okay, now let us just move on to the second type, which is the open data source. What is the purpose of that? I'll go a little bit fast now. The purpose of the second one is like without using a link server name. Now this is like when you do not have a link server created, maybe it provides the ad hoc information, okay, as a 4-part object name, meaning like the 4-part object name, meaning how they are considering here is like the first part is like the server, or say like a server name, then the database name, then the schema name, right, then the table name, right? Okay, so this is the 4-part name, which is the first, then second, then the third, then the fourth. That is why here we are saying like the 4-part object name. Okay, here it could be table name, it could be the object name, okay, it could be the function name, it could be the store procedure name, it could be the function name, it could be any object in the database, right? For that reason the 4-part object name is what they are saying here. Now the syntax, how very simple syntax. Open data source is the keyword. Within the parentheses you would write like this: provider name in the single quote, then comma, the second parameter will be init string, which is like an initialization of a string. How you will connect to that provider, meaning say like you want to use it like MS OLEDB SQL, you would like to connect to it. What will be the server name, what will be the the username, the password, right? Those will be inserted. And if you do not want to insert those username and password, you could just write like the trusted connection, yes, and all, right? And you could just write like the server as the localhost, or maybe you have the precise name with an instance name and all, then you can mention that server name over here. Okay, so that is the syntax for that. Now to enable this open data source, because it is basically considering you are calling to a remote server, it's not considering that you want to call a data from your physical server or maybe the on-premise. I'm talking basically about the on-premise environment. So it's considering that you are not calling a data from the same server from which you are running this query. Instead, you would like to call a data from a distant server, maybe like an Oracle, maybe like a DB2, or maybe like any other different database systems, right? So those are the things in which, in that case, you need to enable the ad hoc distributed queries, because by default system, the SQL Server, it doesn't keep this the ad hoc distributed queries. That functionality is disabled by default in the SQL Server for a security reasons. Okay, so if you would like to run the ad hoc distributed queries, you need to enable that to 1. You need to set an option with a 1 value to allow such an ad hoc access to such kind of a query. Either it could be open row set, which we will see afterwards in the same session, but open data source is in that case also you may need to set this. So how can you do that configuration change? By default, you need to execute the system store procedure called spconfigure, pass the string as ad hoc distributed queries, and then pass the value as 1. By default, it will be 0, which you need to set it with 1 in that case. So you pass the second parameter as 1 and then say go, and then apply the reconfigure so that it will run and then set the configuration according to ad hoc distributed queries as 1. Okay. Yeah. Now, see here it is saying clearly the first statement which we will execute, the spconfigure. Every time you execute this spconfigure, the system store procedure, there is a mandate that you need to execute this reconfigure statement. Okay, so that only that configuration will be applied to it, otherwise it may not work. Okay, so keep it in mind. So there are two ways basically this open data source could be used. So how I have written is like in the form of the dynamic SQL basically is what I have access. I have used it here using the dynamic SQL. Dynamic SQL is basically a kind of a variable to which you will be assigning the entire string. Okay, in the form of a SQL statement or in the form of a linked server query, or maybe in the form of open data source query. So basically you are giving a call to the open data source, passing the first parameter as a provider name, or say like OLEDB driver name, okay, MS OLEDB SQL, and then the second parameter will be your connection info, which is like the server name or trusted connection if it is yes or no, right? Like that will mention. Once that is complete, the open data source function, you will be closing it, and after that the period, and then the use, then we will use the server, the database name, and then the schema name and the table name. Since we are considering that it's a remote database or remote server from which we are giving a call to a particular database that we already know, in that case only we will mention it this way, right? If you do not know, then you need to get that information directly and then you can mention it over here. Otherwise, there maybe you need to use it this way only. Basically, you need to know that database name and then you can use it, and then pass the order by group name and then the name. So basically we have declared a variable of an varchar max type, which is like SQL, and then assign this variable with an as a, because since it is an varchar, so we need to declare this or assign this string always with the an as a first character, and then pass in the SQL query, the entire query within the single quote. And you need to make sure that the entire query, wherever there is a hard coded value that you pass, so consider, say if it is single quote, then you make it double quote, because it's a constant value that you are passing into the variable. For that reason you need to double quote it, okay, so that it will be treated as if like the plain simple when it will be executed, it will be treated as if like a constant value, otherwise it may throw out an exception. Okay, so this is like a dynamic SQL concept that you will understand little bit later. I will explain in a greater detail, but for now just understand it this way. So this is like a syntax. So you just understand and explain it like this, and let's just run to see. Okay. So basically what it will do is it will remotely consider, say like there is a AdventureWorks database. Even though you do not have this selected over here, it will still go to that database. Consider, say it's a remote server from which your data is coming, okay, to your local system or maybe to your on-premise server. Okay, that is how this query is returning you the result. Okay, that's why you need to enable this ad hoc distributed, this since it is considered as a distributed transaction. Okay, now there is another way to which using which you can call the same open data. So you can use the open data source function. Is there is another OLEDB provider which is like a SQL client, right? So SQL and CLI, which is the provider name that you may use that way, and then pass in the data source. Now data source and server one and same, no difference. Okay, and then the integrated security. When you do not want to pass the username and the password, you would like to write it like in integrated security SSPI. Okay, now this is the again database name, schema name, and the table name, same query as we used here. So we'll just run this query again to see the result. Okay, could not start distributed query using integrated login because the user is logged in with the SQL Server authentication. Okay, clear. See, important thing, I have logged in using my SA account, which is my SQL authentication. What it is saying here is you cannot use the SQL Server authentication when you want to use this kind of call to the remote query. So how can you do this? You need to change the connection to your Windows authentication. Okay, things will be fine. Let's just run same query. If you just execute now, it will be executed perfectly fine, right? So just keep it in mind that whenever you use this way execution, then it will be using the secured way of the Windows authentication. It will be requiring to execute the query. Okay, all right. So now let us go on to the next type of function, or say like operator, which is the open query. Now open query is what is the purpose of the open query? Again, one and same, open source, like the open data source, how you use it, right? Likewise, the open queries could also be used, but in the case mostly it is used in the case of linked server only. Okay, now if you say like execute the query, if you want to execute the query, whether it is DQL statement or maybe your DML statements, you can use mainly, say like an Oracle is your database, okay, your source, or say like a particular from Oracle database you want to read data, or you want to write a data to an Oracle database. How can you do that? You just need to have a link server created to your SQL Server system. Link server, how will you create, or how can you create is like I'll not create it for now, but I'll just explain you how that can be created. Okay, just a minute. Server objects, yeah, here the link servers will be. Okay, so here all the link servers will be located. For example, my system, maybe these are the listed link servers, but in your case it could be maybe if you are working through an enterprise system or something, or maybe you are working in your company system, then you may see to the multiple link servers created for that, or if you don't have one, you might need to create to connect to. Okay, so in that case you may use that link server and then you can connect to it. So basically that server link server name that you will provide it here, and then the SQL statement that you will provide as if like a query in the second parameter of the open query function. So how can you return that? I mean, before we do that, there is one minor change again for this kind of open query. For that also we may need the admin access to execute these functions or the commands basically. So first of all, we need to know like whether you have the link server created in your system, or you have the server name for that for to use this open query, right? So you need to make sure like whether it is there. See, like in my case, I have the server name as my MIT home, right? It is my server name basically. So and then the access is enabled already. I might have run the same query earlier, so that reason it is enabled, but by default it will be data access enabled will be 0 in that case. In your case might be if it is set up very first time. So if you want to see that, then you can use it this way as well by using the SQL, the system store procedure, which is SP help server. Okay, which will give you the detailed information like what are the details for that, right? The collation, connect timeout, and all those details. Then basically what we want to do is the SQL server, the system store procedure, we want to pass the option as true. The option value we want to set it as true. We want to access the data using the open query from a link server. In that case, the option we need to set is true. True will make it to 1. Okay, for that reason I have run this statement as the store procedure, and for that reason I am able to run this open query statement. How can I run it? First parameter I need to pass it, right? The first parameter I need to pass it as if like my SQL server name, which is my this name, whatever you get in the result of sys.servers, the first name, the first column, this name column, right? Whatever you get, that is what will be your link server name, suppose in your case, right? So that name you need to mention over here, which could be your local server name. Either it could be your local server name or it could be your link server name. So in my case, I am just writing my own server name, and I'm just writing the same simple query, the same query what we just wrote earlier, the same. Basically select star from this adventure work 29 and then the human resource schema and department table. And then this is the kind of query you would write it. Okay, so select star from open query and then you run this query. One and same, right? So this is the other way of writing the query, which is again the open query. Okay, now the fourth kind of like the operator is like the open row set. Okay, now how can you write the open row set? The purpose of open row set is like it's an alternative to accessing the tables in a linked server. In case you would not like to, or you do not like to use it with this way, open query way, you may want to use this open row set. Maybe you want to read an Excel file, maybe you want to read an MS Access database, maybe you want to read some database source, some other source, right? In that case you can use the this way of open row set function. Okay, it also provides you the similar kind of feature and the functionality. It's a one-time method of connecting and accessing the remote data. Okay, so how can you do that is open row set. Provider name will be there in the first argument, the second will be data source, user ID, password, provider string and all. Four part names which will be like the catalog or maybe your server name or say like a database name, right? Then the schema, then the object, and then the query name. Any of this could be there. All of these are in optional values that they mentioned here. Now how can you write it, the statement, right? So select tmp dot star. I'm just giving it an alias name here. By default, like the from clause is like using the open row set, and then the first argument here I'm mentioning over here is single quote and then MS OLEDB SQL is my link server name or say like my provider name. Okay, so that is my first argument. The second argument I will mention the server connectivity information, which will be my server name, then the trusted connection. If it is a trusted connection, say yes to that, so you can set it up, right? And then server name, both is there. And then the third argument will be what? This is the third argument, right? Which will be your any of this information, or it could be like a query. So we are writing directly a query over here. Okay, so we'll run this query. This is like a open row set. Okay. Okay, now let's see the fifth type of operator, which is the open XML. The purpose of it is like providing a row set view over an XML document, because the open XML is a row set operator Open XML can be used in a transact SQL statements in which like the row set providers such as the table, view or the open row set functions can appear. Now the syntax of this open XML is first argument will be your document ID or say like an integer value. The second argument you would pass as if like the varchar string or the element, the entire the document could be, and then the third one is the byte, the flex in the byte. Okay, and then the with statement. With statement will basically be a kind of a table kind of structure in which you would provide the particular column and the respective type that you want it to be resulted in the output. Okay, so let us just see to an example now. First of all, we'll declare two variables, one with the integer type and other one will be varchar 10,000. Now we will assign a XML, we'll assign the XML string to this variable. Okay, this now like I've just created very simple plain simple XML, not with complex complicated elements, but just like fairly employee two records of an employee table, and both of these records has the employee ID details, name, employee address containing only the city and the states for each of the employees, and then that's it. Like that is how the document I am writing. Now to read that document which is stored in your variable, okay, how can you do that? I mean like the string which is basically a string only, right? It's a varchar string. To prepare a kind of an XML document, there is a built-in store procedure in the SQL Server that you may use is SP XML prepare document, which will return you the output in the form of an integer. Okay, the document you will pass the input variable, you will pass the XML string, and then the output will be in the ID. That is what the output from that store procedure. You would hold that ID and then you would pass the same ID to this open XML document, so that the same document which is created in the buffer, that is what will be read by this open XML statement. You would pass the second parameter as if like the string or say like the path to the XML document from which you would like to read the element from. Okay, so that is what the second argument, and then the third one is the bytes is what we will be passing in. Now let's just go to the with statement. Now say like from this XML document, what are the information that you would like to retrieve? Okay, so according to that you may need to specify this attribute here. This is kind of an alias name you could say, or maybe kind of a format in which like you would read the XML elements or say like an attribute of the elements. So supposingly if we want to retrieve the employee ID is located where? Employee ID is located under the element employee as an attribute employee ID and then employee name, right? So both are the information at the same level in a particular root, the particular main element. That is what we are mentioning here. Now what we want to retrieve is, after we read that, we want to retrieve the city and the state for that employee address. Okay, we do not want to specify it as an address. Instead we would like to create two columns, specifically employee city and employee state, that way. So how can we retrieve these two fields from this XML element? So then we need to mention as if like employee address, because we already have defined that the root element, and then below that root element there is an element called employee. This is the path we have given. So under this path, what is the actual path where the field is located? So this is the path to which that element is located, which is what like we will mentioning here. We are mentioning here like employee address, then slash, and then city. So it will take us to this point, and then it will fairly read this data from this element. Okay, so and then the same way the state also is at the same level, right? So city and state both are at that same level. So we will mention as if like employee address slash city and state. That's it. Like the with statement is over, and then you can just run this entire statement. once the use of this entire thing is created and used, right, you may no longer need to use, because after you read this information in a select statement, you may not need this document being there in that system, right? So you can drop or remove that document from the buffer area. Okay, so that is what we can do. So let's just run completely in a single execution. So yeah, so here's what the information is from the XML document we retrieve. Employee ID is the first column, employee name, the attribute, is in the second column, then the city and the states, like the city, employee city, and then the employee state from both these records from an XML document. That's the open XML way of reading the documents. Okay, now let us move on to the sixth kind of operator, which is open JSON. Like we read in the XML document, likewise we may have to save the JSON string into the JSON into the varchar or n varchar max kind of a variable. So we have declared a variable of n varchar type and then assigned a string with n in the prefix, so that it's like n varchar string. We are creating two basically we are creating two records in the JSON string. This is the first record where I am giving the ID as 1, employee name, first name, last name, address details 1 and 2, and then zip code and skills. Now in the skills field, I am passing the list of values which are comma separated values, right? Now here there is no element called employee skills in the second record, right? Even though that is the main purpose of JSON document. In JSON there can be an inconsistencies, still it will be a valid document. Okay, so for that reason we want to read this document from the variable. Then what we may need to do is in the argument of the open JSON, as we saw that the syntax of the JSON is very simple. It's like JSON's expression, or say like the path, whichever is the optional, right? So that you could pass, and then the with statement, how we mentioned in the earlier case. It's like a table valued function, pass and JSON text and returns the object and properties from the JSON input as a row and column. Okay, so let's just read considering say like this variable is returning the string in the form of a table. Okay, so how to read that JSON string? So to read that, first to each attribute from the JSON, we want to read that we need to use this $sign, then use period, and then the attribute name or a particular column name, and then respectively, like the same way you can read each and every attributes whichever is there in that particular record. You can read each and every attribute by specifying its respective type and then the zip code also, right? Because zip code is there in both these, but employee skills is a different field. So employee skills, how will you define it? You will define it as n varchar max. The type of it is JSON. Okay, because it is in the form of comma separated values, but again it's in the form of like a combined single field, right? Comma separated value. So we will define it as if like the same way how you define these other variables, but you will specify it as JSON here. That will be the JSON type element. Okay, now after this with statement, you are going to, because this is like a comma separated values, we want to convert that comma separated values into a individual, or say like a respective values for each of this record, right? So let me explain it that way. Like you apply this outer, you basically use this outer apply statement for that. Okay, so with the open JSON, again we will do the employee skills, since say like this was the entire element in a JSON form, right? This is like a box bracket you see right in the start and in the end, right? The same content is there in the string format, but still it's considered as a JSON. So likewise this bracket also is considered a JSON string. Okay, so for that reason, the first time we have passed here the from open JSON is in the variable, and then you consider the second element also is as a JSON. So what we will do is in the outer apply, we will again use the same OpenJSON function and then pass this employee skills field into that, meaning like this field. Okay, so from the first or from the previous table, we will use this employee skills column into, and that we will pass that JSON string into this OpenJSON function so that it can again help us retrieve the respective field from that, and that field will be retrieved as if like a employee skill. So each skill will be separated in the form of like a separate records, in the form of separate record. So let's just see in the action. Yeah, so see, like each and every record, basically there were 2 records only, right? But up to here, like starting from here till here, everything was common, or say same record. But we had the similar records, but having the 3 different values in a single record. So those 3 single values, what we did is we split them into rows, or say we converted that in a column rather. Okay, so we converted that string from the JSON string into a column values, so that it became 3 rows. From a single row, it has split into the 3 rows now. But then the values are now into the employee skill column. So we can always omit this column from the result set so that you can see to the respective values and then start to use this value. Okay, now what is next after this is like the last one, which is the string split operator. Okay, or say like a function, system function is what we can say to it as well, rather than operator. Then the purpose of it is a kind of a table valued function. First of all, it's a system function but a table valued function. So it will split the string into a row of substring, basically based on a specified separator character. So say like if you want to split the string, let's say like this kind of string, if you have passed to it, then that string will be converted into a particular table in the output. Okay, so how can it will do, how will it do is like just for an example, we have passed this value, say like types of operators ends here. Okay, now we have passed this string with a space in between. Okay, now what will be my splitting character here? My splitting character here I'm using is a space here. Okay, so that will be my delimited value. So how you want to delimit this string in a form of separate values is a space. Okay, space in a single quote. So that space, and then in the output will be the common column in the output, which will be value from the string split. So how will it split? Let's just see. Yeah, so see, each of the space are separated, and then each of these values are converted from the string to the column itself, kind of a table you can say. Okay, so it's completely created like that. Instead, supposingly like if you had the string from this previous example, okay, say like you have the string in the form of, could be like this. Okay, so how could you do that is like you may just pass it like this. Okay, you will just pass like the comma separated values if it was there, right? You could just use the same but use the comma as a separator here. Okay, or delimiter here, and then run this, right? So this is how you can split them into the column, or say convert into the column, right? So that's it for this operator thing. And then there is an operator precedence related thing. So this is the link. I will give it in the description of this video as well, so that you can just refer to this documentation. Apart from this, you may find the all kind of operators which I have discussed into this entire video. Okay, so that also I'll share the link to it, so that you can go through those and then try understanding much in a greater detail from the Microsoft documentation as well. Okay, that's it from the module, and thank you. Have a great day and then happy learning. Bye.